Hey bub, I'm Kaya, and in today's episode, we're talking about the mutant who put the yellow in yellow spandex, Wolverine.
How you doing? Want a piece of fruit?
His colorful costume has always seemed at odds with his brooding berserk personality, and throughout his 44-year history, artists have tried their best to improve on what's already considered an all-time classic. The results are mixed, but hey, they're better than the movies, which basically didn't even try. We'll get to those later, but for now, sharpen your claws and light your stogies because this is the evolution of Wolverine's costume. We start, as always, with the comics and the creation of the classic. Wolverine was initially designed by John Romita, the same artist who created Mary Jane Watson and The Punisher. Logan's original look was pretty close to the eventual classic, from the yellow and blue color scheme to the black tiger stripes and stylized pointy mask. Romita is also credited for creating Wolverine's trademark claws, although as he envisioned it, it would come out of his gloves, not his body. One element that didn't stand the test of time though, his cute little whiskers. Whiskers. After his debut in the pages of Incredible Hulk, Wolverine graduated to the all-new X-Men. The revamped team was built to showcase international heroes, and Logan was chosen to represent Canada.
The country needs you. I'm Canadian.
Unfortunately, not everyone was familiar with his first appearance, and cover artist Gil Kane accidentally drew Wolverine's mask with big Batman-style headpieces and blank eyes. Interior penciler Dave Cockrum thought it looked so cool he redrew all of his pages to match the mistake, and the classic costume was born, though it almost didn't last.
Someday I'll learn not to let my guard down.
Oh no!
2 years after the X-Men relaunch, Cockrum left the book, but not before giving Wolverine a new costume that would be a pain in the ass for his replacement, John Byrne, to draw. Byrne wasn't a fan of the Fang costume, in part, yes, because it sucked to draw, but also because it didn't have a mask. Remember, for the first year of Wolverine's existence, we never saw his face once, but when he finally unmasked, it was a huge deal. Byrne wanted to keep that sense of mystery, so he convinced his editor to go back to the blue. Then he convinced them to dump the colors entirely. Byrne hated Wolverine's uniform from day one because he felt that blue and yellow was more appropriate for a football team than a feral fighter. By 1980, he had enough clout to institute the change with a muted brown costume that matched the character's personality. Everyone considers the blue and yellow uniform as Wolverine's classic, but Byrne's brown look is actually his longest lasting costume ever. Aside from just a plain black ninja suit with face paint, Wolverine wore the brown for 10 consecutive years. It appeared in the classic arcade game
X-Men, welcome to die!
And failed cartoon pilot, and it inspired everything from Ultimate Wolverine to X-Men Evolution. But as the 80s turned into the 90s, it was time for Wolverine to get back to basics, and that means back in blue. When artist Jim Lee joined the X-Men book in 1991, he instituted a strict uniform policy. Just like Stan and Jack's original team, the X-Men were now clad in matching blue and yellow costumes, no exceptions. But unique looks were a big part of the X-Men's appeal, and the conformist phase only lasted for a year. In 1992, Jim Lee called up John Byrne with some huge news. He basically said, guess what? I'm giving Wolverine his real costume back. Byrne replied, I'm the one that changed it in the first place. And an awkward silence ensued. Regardless, the original blue and yellow made its triumphant return just in time for the 90s X-Men boom. The ears were a little bigger and the boots were a lot pointier, but this was more or less the same costume Romita dreamed up in the 70s. From the Fox cartoon to the Marvel vs. Capcom games, for most of us growing up, this was our Wolverine. And the design lasted for nearly a decade. Even when Magneto ripped out Logan's adamantium and reduced him to a feral state, he still wore a tattered version of the classic clothes, just with a blue do-rag to cover his weird noseless face. 90s were weird. In 2001, Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely redesigned the X-Men to bring them closer in line to the movies, and decked out the team in high-contrast black and yellow biker gear adorned with X logos. It was a great compromise between the colorful comics and the monotone movies, but Marvel wanted something a little more marketable. In 2002, they instituted a new look for Wolverine, one single simplified uniform to unify his portrayal in the mainline comics, the Ultimate Universe, and their toys and video game tie-ins. It wasn't much of a costume, just a black t-shirt and yellow stripes, really. And by 2004, the mutants were ready to trade in their black leather and become superheroes again. For Astonishing X-Men, John Cassidy designed a brand new blue and yellow costume for the new millennium. It ditched the trunks on the outside and expanded the blue sections to run along his torso, using negative space to suggest the tiger stripes. It's an amazing redesign and a perfect modernization of an all-time classic. With a few exceptions like his dark gray X-Force uniform or the armor he wore when he lost his healing factor, Wolverine wore the astonishing costume until his death in 2014. Then his daughter X-23 wore the same suit to honor his legacy. And now that the Canucklehead himself is confirmed to return in September 2018, he's slipping right back into his old duds. The Cassidy costume is so cool it could even work on the big screen, but sadly we have yet to see anything resembling the classic uniform at the movies. For the first X-Men film, the producers toyed with the idea of incorporating the colorful comics costume. This Byrne-inspired Wolverine concept art could have worked, but even today it's hard to imagine Hugh Jackman rocking brown and yellow. Bryan Singer chose black leather because it made more sense from a protection standpoint, even though it didn't exactly help with mobility. Wolverine's costume looks identical to his teammates, but if you squint, you can see the suggestion of his stripes in yellow. Honestly, I was never impressed with the movie costumes, and the clever line they inserted to calm fans down didn't help, although it did name this series.
What would you prefer? Yellow Spandex?
So, choose your battles, I guess, because what else were we gonna call it?
Superhero style.
Let's just call it Harry Styles.
Is Wolverine hairy?
He's very hairy, but Wolverine is daddy. Wolverine is absolutely daddy. Are you kidding?
I need that in the video. Wolverine wore the same costume throughout X2 and X3, and in Origins and the Wolverine, he never wore a costume at all, besides his trademark leather jacket and tank top. The Wolverine was going to hint at his uniform.
Interesting.
But director James Mangold decided to cut it. He understood fans' desire to see it, but said, "Nothing seems less Wolverine-like than the desire to put on a trademark outfit and prance around doing good deeds." And like, I get that, I do, but you can give him a reason to wear it? Like, shit, I mean, that was literally the entire plot of Batman Begins.
Blood bets lost the way.
That's frightened me. This time my enemies shared my dread.
You can find a way to put Luke Cage in a tiara.
Exactly. If you can find out how to do that, you can find out how to make him wear a stupid mask. You can make a reason. Sorry, continue. The closest the movies ever got to his comics costume was his high-tech armor in Days of Future Past. No stripes, no mask, but at long last we finally got a hint of the blue and yellow in the sleeves. For the next movie, Wolverine mostly sat out the apocalypse, although we got a glimpse of his Weapon X uniform, or lack thereof.
That's the last we've seen of that guy.
Logan was the last appearance of Hugh Jackman in the role, but he stayed in civilian clothes throughout the bleak R-rated blockbuster. We do see what his costume would have looked like in some in-universe comics, but Logan died before we ever got to see a ripped Australian playing a pissed-off Canadian in a goofy mask.
I just got here like 20 seconds ago.
Today, the future of the X-Men franchise is in the air, but wherever it lands, next time around, I want to see Wolverine in a cooler costume. No matter what he's wearing, from yellow spandex to black leather, Wolverine is the best there is at what he does, and he looks pretty good doing it. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Wolverine is basically the reason Yellow Spandex is called Yellow Spandex, so it's about damn time we did this episode. But we want to know who you want us to see us cover next. We can do Ant-Man, Joker, Green Arrow, Storm. Leave us a comment, let us know, or tweet us at NowNerdOfficial. And as always, please subscribe to Now This Nerd.